Hi friends. Now recently I had loaded a video on the YouTube channel for people who were preparing for NEET exam, and I had created a timeline for them. And I got a lot of messages from students that how should we go about the November AIMS exam. So I thought I'll give you an idea about the exam as well as how what timeline should be you have in your mind if you're preparing for the November AIMS exam as well as the other central exams that happen in the November month. So that is a very critical exam to target, AIMS November. But before we target the exam, we need to know why are we targeting this exam? Why? So the why behind it is, number one is that we need to know the number of seats in AIMS is good now. It is not like in the past when we were studying in my time, we had around 40 30 40 seats to play for when we were preparing for AIMS exam. Now with the peripheral aims coming into picture, there is a good number of PG seats, and even if you get a rank in top 500, top 800, it is likely that you might get a seat in a good clinical subject. So it's a good exam to target. That is first thing. Second is, please target the exam for right reasons. Why do you think people want to do PG in the institutes of excellence like AIMS, PGI, JIPMER? Why? Because these places give you a ease of learning. That ease of learning means that here you are in a place where everything that you have read in the textbook, the patients, the syndromes, the gene analysis, the whatever you're reading, it's all happening around you, and the protocols are being followed, and all that helps you to learn better. So when we are targeting these exams, you are targeting an ease of learning, and that ease is worth spending those 4 or 5 months in preparation, so that you get into a system where a culture where you learn and imbibe that kind of workflow. And people who are graduating or post graduating from these places, when they come out, they have already imbibed that culture, that DNA into their own work style, and you can actually make out that these people would be, you become a better clinician if you kind of work in that kind of culture for a long time. So what is difference between the AIMS exam and the NEET exam? The number one is the timing. So we know by now that the NEET exam will happen in January, but your AIMS exam will be on 17th of November. So we have a month extra to prepare for NEET, while in AIMS you have a month less. So many people, when they are preparing for AIMS, the reason they are not able to do well in November AIMS is that they were not able to revise enough number of times, because the exam comes a bit earlier than the NEET exam that would happen in January. So the first and foremost thing is, when we were talking about NEET, we usually talk about a date like October 15th. This is where you start revising for NEET. However, if we are talking about AIMS, you can pull it back to maybe 1st of October. Maybe you need more time to revise because you want to be able to do 2 revisions. The good thing here is, this time the AIMS exam is on 17th of November, so you get those half a month extra here. If you are able to put in 1 month here, maybe you are able to create around 45 days. And if somebody is smart enough to plan a good revision in 45 days, in those 45 days you can actually do a great job of revising your subjects. So that is the first thing to keep in mind. So this is the key thing to look at, that we are pushing your revision back a little bit so that you get more time before the November exam, because you feel that I am a serious candidate for AIMS, I need to hit the exam hard. Another thing to notice here is that the questions in AIMS exam would have a predominance of basic sciences. Now, reason I'm telling you this is so that you can optimize your revision schedules. When we talk of NEET, in NEET it is clear that out of 300, 150 questions will be clinical sciences. Okay, and out of the other 150, 25 will be PSM. So in NEET, 175 questions are from final year subjects. But when I look at AIMS exam, you will see a predominance of questions from basic sciences, as well as the questions which are clinical but integrated with the basic sciences. So if I was in your place, I would give, when I am allocating my days for revision in that October and the first half of November month, I would allocate more days to first, second prof as compared to what I would allocate in my NEET exam. and that will also help you to balance your preparation. That means in the till the November AIIMS, you are predominantly putting more time into first, second prof, but when you come for NEET, you put more time on the clinical. At the end of it, you have balanced everything in your revision cycles. That is the very, very important thing to remember. You will have good number of questions from first, second prof, and some clinical questions would also have a basic science integrated concept. The second thing to remember is that many times we tend to bet our preparation on memory. Memory means that you have a question which is factual, you see a question, you remember the answer, you get to the answer. But you know by now, over the years, AIIMS has gone towards the concept more than concept. Means that you need to understand what you're doing instead of memorizing it. So memory has always limitations. Any time that we remember anything, there is some space. Like if you put in your phone, in your computer, there is always a memory space which is a limiting factor. So on the other hand, we can understand things much more. Many more concepts can be stored in my mind as understanding rather than storing them as memory. And I want you to understand why this concept building or understanding will be more important. The reason is it will help you to rule out choices. And mark my words, in the AIIMS exam, directly if you get to a question answer by your memory, it will be less, but many questions you will be able to do by ruling out choices. You can just read the clinical scenario given in the question and you know that, okay, this is not fitting into this is not fitting into this, and you kind of rule out things and reach to the answer by ruling out. I want you to remember two things. In AIIMS, there will be questions which will be visual, there will be questions which will be textual. In the visual questions, before you look at the visual, look at the choices, so that in your mind you know what 4 choices are you going to rule out. So that when you go to the exam, you are doing the visual, you already know what you're looking for, and that helps to save time in the exam. So this should be your thought process when you're reading now. When you read now and when you're revising for AIIMS, read to understand, don't read to mugify. And second thing to remember is when you're understanding, you should be able to communicate the concept in simple language to somebody else. If you are able to do this, that means you have understood. That is the key. Second thing is, in AIIMS, they always stress on things like emergencies, motor vehicle accident, the general surgery part. So, make sure that when you have time, you use that time to look at emergency scenarios, emergency management. OBS and Gynae PSM, they form a big chunk of your paper. Out in PSM, biostats is important for AIIMS. Keep it in mind. So what are we doing and what DAMS resources, how do I want you to use them? The first and the most important DAMS resource for revision for AIIMS exam that I want to point out to everybody is the DAMS AIIMSPG capsule. This is a PG capsule which is available to you on the eMedicos app. So this capsule is available to you on your eMedicos app, and in the May exam this year, many toppers, you can actually scroll back on the YouTube channel and see many toppers from the AIIMS and PGI and JIPMER in the mid-year exam attributed their success to this capsule. It's a quick revision course covering all high yielding topics for central exams. Don't miss out on it. That is what I really wanted to point out. In your timeline, include this course. Second thing is, in AIIMS, although in the last year they have changed the pattern, I'll tell you the implication of that change pattern, but still the topics that are being asked in the exam are often a reflection of the last 3-4 years paper. So we have given you last 3-4 year AIIMS paper in 2 formats. One is the ebook format, which on eMedicos you can actually access on eMedicos app. In the publication section, you have last 4 year papers fully solved, which you can quickly flip through. And that will help you to get an idea on what topics are being stressed in AIIMS. So make sure that you utilize them in your AIIMS preparation cycle. And now comes the more important thing. In the AIIMS, in the eMedicos app, you will find a course labeled as Emergency Medicine. This is a must-do course for all AIIMS aspirants. So if you are appearing for AIIMSPG and if you are not preparing for emergencies, you are putting yourself at risk. So make sure that you finish that emergency course in this timeline, that so that when you are preparing for AIIMS in the last 1.5 months, we know we need to revise emergencies. And look at a course, look out for all the DAM students, please look out for a course labeled as DAMS mop-up course. When you open that course, you will see a label like this, where you will have a picture for showing you anatomy, embryology, histology, the basic sciences part which you need to do for AIIMS. You will find something for PSM, a mop-up for epidemiology, and a big chunk of questions in AIIMS are from infectious diseases, and you will find that mop-up there. So do not forget to look at infections and genetics, biostatistics. Don't miss out on them. They are very, very important for central exams, particularly AIIMS. But don't forget, these things like genetics are very important even for JIPMER exam. So make sure that you're looking at all this. Don't forget to include them in your schedule till the AIIMS exam. And finally, we will also revise everything for you in the session called as DVT in the first week of this October. We will be revising everything for you, not only for AIIMS, even for NEET. We'll give you high yielding revision material for all subjects. Don't forget to include that in your timetable. In AIIMS, every time there are questions which are also on video or a GIF format. To give you practice on those video tests, when you log on to your test series app, mind you, this is on the test series app, you will see a video based test with around 100 questions on video format, and you can actually play those videos and get to the answers. And I am sure many of you are already practicing it, but if you are not, make sure that you look at it and practice it well before the exam. These are the kind of resources that I want you to utilize for the AIIMS exam. If you notice, in addition to what we are doing routine, for AIIMS I have added for you few things. Number one, instead of starting my revision at October 15, I want you to start at 1st of October. Second is, do not forget to look at previous 4 years papers, because every time you will see that topic or that idea that you saw in a previous exam, that similar topic might be repeated in the next exam. And practice the video questions, look for the emergency medicine, look at biostatistics. All these revision small capsules are all video based, available on eMedico's app for you. And don't forget to look at the previous papers video solutions also. They will also help you to formulate the concept, and you will find teachers will be telling you what to look out for in the next exam. But in addition to this, AIIMS has a new pattern in May 2019, where in addition to the single best response questions that you normally have, +1, -1/3, there are some more patterns to consider. You have questions which are multiple true false. Multiple true false means in each question 5 choices, any number of them can be true and false. That is very similar to what you see in PGI Chandigarh. So I'm sure many of you, when you are preparing for AIIMS, you are also preparing for PGI. That part will be taken care of there. There is a question called as match the following, which introduces an element of factuality in the AIIMS exam. Classically, when you listen to toppers, they will say in AIIMS there are more questions which are more conceptual. Okay, but this match the following, the column size, you can't have concepts there. There will be mainly facts there. So make it a point, those radiological science, pathological science, and make it a point to look at those biochemistry, genetics, causative organisms, vaccines, anything that can be put in match the following will be good high yield. But do not forget, in AIIMS, match the following, each part of the match the following is evaluated separately. Now I actually want to point out some more high yielding tips to you, but before I do them, I don't want to miss out on telling you, in AIIMS, if you mark a question for review and if you end up not reviewing it, if you end up not saving it, they don't count it. See this? Anything marked for review will be given as 0. So if you miss out on saving those, you will actually be out of the race. So I want to advise everybody very, very clearly, don't mark too much for review. And if it's a factual question, actually there is no point on going back and reviewing it again. If it is something comes to your memory immediately, that is what the answer is. So mark very few questions for review, because if you are not able to save them, you might lose out on your rank. Don't forget this. Okay, and let me point out some more high yielding resources to look at. In the DAMS question bank called as DQB, there is a special section on match the following questions, multiple completion type, extended matching type. These can be used to practice the new pattern questions so that you don't miss out on or you don't feel uncomfortable when you're doing these questions in the exam. Now, this is how the multiple true false questions will look like in the exam. Each choice is evaluated separately. Plus 1 by 5, minus 1 by 5 is the marking scheme. Notice the negative marking. Don't guess too much in this question. Look at the match the following factual question. You can see the vector, they are trying to match the vector with the disease, but remember the column size here is 4, here is 6, and it becomes slightly tricky to match it because it is not all automatic matching like you have in routine exams. You have the columns are unequal, but remember they are giving you mark for each alternative, so that even if you know 3, you can actually leave them at, you can do 3 and leave the 4th one. You can still get some score here. And assertion reasoning, the only thing I wanted to highlight in assertion reasoning is please recheck what is written here in the real exam. Sometimes they change what they write in prospectus and what they write in the real exam is different. So you have to know assertion reasoning should be looked upon as 2 separate statements, assess them as 2 separate statements, and then find if any of them is true or false. If you find any one statement is false, then the answer will be it would not be A or B. Answer has to be C, D, E. If both are false, answer is E. If one of them is false, then you have answer is either C or D. If both are true, look at the first statement again, think about the reason in your own mind, and then mark the reason and compare the reason what they have written. So this is the, I have made a separate video on how to appear for assertion reasoning. You can actually go scroll through the YouTube channel to find that video. But my goal here is to tell you this is high scoring. You get a +1. Let me come back to the scoring system. You get a +1 in assertion reasoning and a -1 by 4. This is a very, very important question to do. Similarly, in multiple completion types, you get +1, -1 by 4. The things which I feel are very, very important to keep in mind for future exams are extended matching. A lot of choices, a long question, but trust me, these questions are very simple because when the examiner is giving so many clues, you are able to do them. So keep these questions in your exam at the second last part of the exam. Like this, in the second last, in the end, we will start with the single best response, then we'll do the new pattern questions. In the second last, I want you to do extended matching, read the last line first, and then see what are the clues and mark the answer. But in the end, you should always keep the arrange the sequence type. These are high penalty questions, -1, +1. Unlike the previous one where we had +1, -1 by 4, here you have +1, -1. So whenever you see these questions, you look at them, if I don't know it, you have to leave it. So that will save time. You can keep them for the end also. So that these are the kind of questions that we are going to look for. I have highlighted to you the resources, what to utilize. I've highlighted to you the timelines, and I only want to tell you this. What happens is in life, whenever we are digging a tunnel, we are working very hard. When we begin preparation, we are working hard with enthusiasm because it's something new that you're doing. When we keep continuing, going forward into the tunnel, we tend to get tired, bogged down, demotivated. But you never know how near you are to the treasure. Don't give up. Don't give up in the final months. Keep going forward. You are just this much away from the treasure. Don't look back. Keep hitting positively. You will be there. I am sure that you will be taking your interview, after the AIIMS exam in this very studio, and you will be talking to other future candidates and telling how to prepare for AIIMS exam. Have that faith in you. I am sure you'll do well. God bless you.